the Lion and Liverpool podcast.
Hi guys, welcome to the latest episode of the Lion and Liverpool podcast, and we'll be talking about the Liverpool side of things today. It's been a very interesting 24 hours because Liverpool seemed all hell bent on signing Alexander Isak by hook or by crook, and we'll talk about the footballing food chain and how Liverpool are closely going to the top, although there are still a couple of clubs above them. We'll also talk about the surprise, almost done signing of Hugo Ekitike. I know it's not a surprise in the sense that we were linked with him, but just that, we were going for Isak and then everything's just changed in 24 hours. And then the big question is how things will work out with the likes of Nunez and Luis Diaz and Harvey Elliott, but we've got quite a few updates on both Nunez and Luis Diaz. And then we'll also touch upon Liverpool's first preseason game. I know Chelsea just had the last game of the season a few days back, and Liverpool are already playing the preseason game for this season. So very interesting. But let's start with obviously, the big talking point is Liverpool trying to be the bullies that we aren't always and trying to sign Alexander Isak or Ekitike. We've seen to be clearly in the race for Isak. And the interesting thing is that there seemed to be a lot of momentum and steam going up last night. Like, we're interested in Isak. We want to sign him. We want to sign him. We want to sign him. And then it was like Newcastle were bidding for Ekitike. We then bid for Ekitike, and that has been accepted, it seems. The two teams will thrash it out. And Rohit, you praised Ekitike a lot. You really like this signing. You've said that a lot of times. But the real funny thing is that I've been reading quite a few updates from a few journalists, and they're saying that the Isak deal isn't dead in the water yet. There still is a chance we could get him, which is kind of weird considering that they want around 120, 130 million for the Swedish international. So, Rohit, what's your take on this Isak, Ekitike roundabout merry-go-round?
Yeah, it's fascinating, right? I was seeing all over Twitter how Liverpool are basically trying to twist Newcastle's arm, right? Newcastle were trying to go for Ekitike, like you said, and then Liverpool said, "Oh, we'll get him," or give us Isak, right? It's kind of funny, but you know how I feel about Ekitike, like you correctly said, right? He's a really, really promising footballer, right? And very similar to Isak in many ways, especially if you think of the build, right? Thin, tall, lanky forwards. But I think Ekitike deal makes more sense to me, right? He's 2 years younger to Isak. He is, I don't know, like 40 million pounds or $40 million cheaper than him, right? And if you look at his underlying numbers, they are great, right? Of course, only I think he underperformed on his XG last year, but everything else is great. Like if you look at his assists, he's in 90th percentile. If you look at things like progressive carries and successful take-ons, it's above 95 percentile, right? So here's a striker who's very much the well-rounded product. He's not just like a number nine, a finisher. Yeah, talking about Ekitike's underlying numbers, right? He's got like 90th percentile in XG. He underperformed his XG, but his assist numbers are in the 90th percentile, and more importantly, progressive carries and successful take-ons are above 95th percentile for strikers. So a very well-rounded young forward who's just going to get better, right? With slots coaching and with better players around him. Now, the interesting thing about Ekitike is, he is also really good at, dribbling past players and setting people up, as the numbers suggest, which is going to be very, very useful for Liverpool because most of the teams are going to sit back against Liverpool, a low block, right? And you need a player, a number nine, who not just finishes, his finishing will obviously get better, but who can also, go past people, shoot, set somebody up. So I think Ekitike is actually pretty frightening from my perspective, from a rival fan's perspective. Ekitike, Wirtz, and Salah, I don't know how you stop those three because very unique skill sets. All of them are devastating. So, uh, personally, I think if you guys get Ekitike, which looks like you might, right? Ekitike has agreed a deal, and you guys are thrashing out details of the transfer fees with Stuttgart, right?
No, it's Frank.
Oh no, 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 Frankfurt. Sorry. With Frankfurt, why would you go for Isak after that, right? Doesn't really make sense. Very similar players. Let's see. Last moment twists and turns can happen if Isak throws his arms up at Newcastle and says, "Hey, let me leave." That might happen. But I think you guys have a very, very good player in your hands right now with Ekitike.
Yeah, so I was looking at their numbers and comparing the playing styles, and Ekitike is in a similar mold to Isak. He's not the finished product, as you rightly said. He's still a France under 21 or under 23 international, so there's a lot of scope for him to develop. That's the good thing. The other thing is what happens to Isak. We still have to wait and see because I think there's still some more activity that we will be doing in the transfer window. And speaking of that, we have to segue towards what happens to our attack with the Darwin Nunez, Luis Diaz, and Harvey Elliott. So Harvey Elliott is done and dusted. I think his time at Liverpool is coming to an end. Although he's a fan favorite, and I think most of the fans really like the enthusiasm and the energy he puts into games, he just doesn't fit into Arne Slot's planning and team tactics. That's why we didn't even see him a lot last season. The Nunes one is interesting because for a long time last week it seemed like he was going to Napoli and Napoli were interested in him and they were throwing crazy money at him. And then they backed out. They said that they just can't finance the deal. Surprisingly, Newcastle were linked with Darwin Nunez. So maybe a Newcastle, Darwin Nunez, Alexander Isak swap, but I think that's unlikely. What I do believe is Darwin Nunez will leave, and in all probability, he'll go to Saudi Arabia unless some other European club comes up with, I think, 50, 60 million euros that we're asking for, which is pretty cheap considering the potential he has and how he can explode. But I think last season's performances, if we get 50, 60 million, that's really good. Luis Diaz is the very interesting one. I think we've exchanged a lot of messages regarding this. So Liverpool, he's not the most expensive player we have. He's not the one who gets the most weekly wages. Yet we won't give him a new deal. He has, I think, 2 years left on his deal. We want him to be sold for a certain amount of money. We were trying to push him to the Saudi Arabian clubs because they'll pay over the moon for any European player or a European based player, sorry. And Barcelona were interested in him, but we rejected their advances. Bayern Munich seemed to be interested in him. They were willing to pay, I think, 60 or 75 million. And we said, no, no,
Yeah,
no,
I think they bid also, right?
they bid also. And we said, no, we want 100 million. You know why we said that? Because we know they have the Wirtz money. They were betting 100 for Wirtz. So we're like, no, you give us that money and you take Luis Diaz. But I do believe that that deal could take place. I think around 80, 85 million euros could be the asking price for the deal to be finalized. I'd be happy for Luis Diaz. I think he's always given it his all here. Whatever weird reason Michael Edwards has for not giving him a new deal is fine, but I think we need to let him go and get somebody else in. So the funny thing is, I've been reading a lot of this stuff is that if Luis Diaz leaves, we might move for Rodrygo of Real Madrid. He's not playing or starting for Real Madrid as much. We need somebody on the left who can give Cody Gakpo a run for his money or even be there for a long time. He's only 24 and he'll only cost around 80, 85 million. So basically a swap deal in the sense, how much we pay, how much we get for Diaz and how much we paid Real Madrid. And the most
Yeah.
important thing is a lot of the players want to move and secure playing time with the new clubs because it's a World Cup year. So
Yep.
Rodrygo coming to Real Madrid, getting a few, coming to Liverpool and then starting and then with that attack, I mean, can you imagine? You got Ekitike, Rodrygo, Wirtz, Salah, Gakpo. That's insane. And then who knows? We might get somebody else also. There's also a potential chance of us signing Anthony Gordon. Don't rule that one out yet because he's been linked with us since last season. And if Luis Diaz does go, Gordon would make quite a lot of sense compared to Rodrygo. So a lot of stuff is happening at Liverpool. And we still haven't
Yeah.
spoken about the centre back. We need a centre back ASAP because we sold Jarel Kwanzaa to Leverkusen, and that just leaves Konate, Van Dijk, and Joe Gomez. So we need that centre back also. So I don't think Liverpool are done yet in the summer transfer window.
So, quick point about Luis Diaz, Rodrigo one. I think you probably just gave Bayern Munich a good idea, right? Don't give us 80 million, go for Rodrigo. I don't know, but you should have said that aloud. So, any Bayern Munich scouts listening to us, please ignore. Oh man, that's kind of interesting, right? I think the market. So I was just reading somewhere the market for left wingers, right-footed left wingers, is very very dry right now, especially because PSG have three of them, right? PSG have Kvaratskhelia, PSG have Bradley Barcola, and Desiree Doué. I don't know what they're doing, hoarding so many of these players. So it's going to be interesting to see how these dominoes fall. A lot of things are probably going to kick off, and one after the other things are going to fall into place. And about the centre back situation, Nadeem, Konate is on his last year, right? What do you think is going to happen there?
It's kind of weird. So we've lost a lot of players on that last year of the contract nonsense. And Real Madrid have said that if you want, you can sell him right now to us for, I think, 20, 25 million. So if we sell Konate this season and we don't get two replacements, now we'll need to sign two centre backs who need to be quality first teamers. which will be quite difficult to get. Gehi is fine.
Who's there in the market? Okay, Gay. Yeah,
Mark
okay.
Gay is there, but who's the other centre back that you could get? And Ibrahima Konate had
Yeah.
probably his best season for us last year.
And
So
Gehi for Konate is going to be a downgrade.
yeah, but you never know how Arne Slot will train the player, and he might take it
True.
to the next level. That's what we've seen with the
True.
club last season also. But you're right, Gehi. Right now, Gehi is a downgrade to Konate. So what do Liverpool do? They're in a very tough situation. They can keep Konate for one more season and get Gehi in, and mold him to become the next Konate. But then he leaves for a free. There is also a chance that he signs a new deal, but I think it's really unlikely because we were talking about the food chain. Liverpool are right now on top of the Premier League food chain, I would say, with maybe Arsenal. And then you have Real Madrid, who's at the top of the food chain all the time, like forever that I've seen. When they come calling, especially for a non-English player, they will go. So if Konate is being lured by Real Madrid, then he's gone. I mean, there's really nothing we can do unless unless we beat them 10-0, 15-0 twice in the Champions League or something, and then we win the Champions League and we win everything. So that food chain in the footballing world, at least now, has Liverpool at the top, so we can bully teams. But I think we can only bully teams that aren't Real Madrid and Barcelona. Now, speaking about Gehi and Konate, I think what we need to also talk about is the start of the new season for us. We played Preston. Now, with all of these games, it was really emotional because this was the first time all the players came out after Diego Jota's untimely demise, and you could see there was a lot of emotion. A lot of the players, they weren't really smiling. They were just going through the motions. Darwin Nunez scored, Connor Bradley scored, Cody Gakpo scored. They all uh, dedicated the goals to Jota. There was quite a bit of a touching moment. There's also something really interesting. I don't know if you've seen it or not. Is that the Liverpool men's side on the website? They show who are the current players for the team, like the starting, the first 23 or 25. So you've got the goalkeepers with Allison and our backup goalkeepers, Mamadashvili and all. You've got the defenders, the forwards, the midfielders, and then there's one small section right at the end, which is forever, and that's Diego Jota's photo. I think that's really really touching and really nice. But
Yeah.
so I don't really think we can take much from the Preston game. Uh,
Yeah.
the only
Yeah,
couple of things,
just before you go to the game, you even talking about that kind of made me emotional. And I know you guys have retired the number 20
yeah,
jersey, right? It's
throughout the
just
club. So no,
yeah,
never do.
extremely sad situation. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, so regarding the game, Mamad Dashvili started for us. The Chelsea starlet, N'Gu Muha, right? Also started, and a lot of people were impressed with him. So, in all probability, we'll see a lot of him in maybe the inconsequential Champions League games and obviously the FA Cup and the League Cup. And regarding the new signings, we did have Jeremy Frimpong and Milos Kerkez come on in the second half. The other players like Florian Wirtz, I don't think he started. So we'll probably get to see him start sometime soon. A lot of the players were still given a break, so Virgil van Dijk wasn't there in the squad. But yeah, things are in motion. We'll see how things go. There's a lot going on in Liverpool. I'm sure next week we'll be talking about a lot more of transfer news. Until then, take care. Ask us any questions if you like. Should we sign Isak still after signing Ekitike?
And play him center back. Why not?
That would be like ultimate honest notness. And what happens to the futures of Darwin Nunez and Luis Diaz? Drop us a message, like, subscribe, and share our content. And until next time, take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.